This is The Coach, an AK experience with me, Anthony K, and Coach Hugh Jackson. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. All right, welcome to episode 2 of The Coach, an AK experience. I'm Anthony K. He's the Coach Hugh Jackson. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing great. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Wonderful. So, I got a lot to talk to you about. And as always, we're going to kick things off with football. We're going to do Jackson Financial, and then we'll do a little social awareness at the end. But I told you previously, I want your take on the division leaders. So I'm going to take you through one by one, and let me know realistically, right? Do you think they are true Super Bowl contenders? And maybe what would need to go right for them to make that happen, right?
Okay.
So we're going to start in the NFC.
Okay.
And we're going to start in the West because we got two teams, the Rams and Seattle, same record, but the Rams hold the tiebreaker, so the Rams are the division leader. The Seahawks have seemed a little up and down, right? Their defense is not what it's been historically, but the Rams are the division leader. So here's a team that was in the Super Bowl a few years back, looked like they took a step backwards. Now they're looking pretty good. What do you think their chances are of staying on top of that division and making it?
I think the chances are really good. Obviously, they've really improved defensively. Wade Phillips left after last year. They have a new defense coordinator. They're playing a lot of different personnel groups on defense, a lot of different type of coverages. And I think the coordinator is really meshed with the style of players that they have there. And so they're doing a tremendous job. And then you take Sean McVay on offense, with Goff, I think those guys have some good things going. Where I see that they've really improved guys at the running back position. The running backs are playing really well for the Rams. So they're definitely a contender. I think they have a chance to win the division because I think they're the most complete team of the two teams you just mentioned. I hate to say that about Seattle. Pete Carroll, love you, Pete. But at the same time, defensively, they're kind of inconsistent. And I think losing to the Giants really caught me the wrong way.
Yeah, because the defense was, in the beginning of the season, we never would have thought we would have seen a defense that poor in Seattle. And then it picked it up. But again, you're right. There's been that inconsistency. And I'm surprised because typically, and this is no knock at Goff, but if you're comparing Goff to Wilson, you're probably taking Wilson. And most of the time you would pick the team with the star or the better quarterback. But in this case, you think that defense and the running game, which I'll tell you, as a person who plays fantasy football, I hate it because you never know which running back is going to step up. But yeah, they've got kind of that three-headed attack back there. The tight ends look good. They always had some good wide receivers. And if Goff plays good, right, because of that defense, he doesn't have to play great to make it. Okay?
No doubt.
So we move to the South. And I'm surprised that New Orleans has hung on because it was funny. I made early predictions, and I said the Bucs are going to get blown out in that first game. I was kind of right, but they're going to come back and win the division. But we talked about them last week. They've been inconsistent, and the Saints are the team, even with Drew Brees out. Is he going to be able to come back and make a run? If he doesn't come back fully, can they make a run with Taysom Hill?
Yes and no. I think Taysom Hill needs to continue to improve. He needs to become more consistent for their football team. I'm really surprised that they haven't given Jameis an opportunity to play. I just think he's a classic drop-back quarterback, the style that they've been playing with when you look at Drew Brees. Obviously, he's not Drew Brees. I'm not trying to compare him that way, but the way he plays is he plays in the pocket, and, he's not a big mobility guy as well. So I just think that's going to be the issue for them. They're really good defensively. That's the reason why they're leading the division. Obviously, when Drew Brees is playing, they're as good as anybody. Michael Thomas is back and got some games under his belt now. I don't know if Drew Brees is going to be able to make it back. When you talk about 11 fractured ribs.
Yeah, the fact that they said 3 weeks, right? That's a surprise.
I was shocked. So I don't know if he will make it back. And if he does, great. But if he doesn't, they got to find a way to continue to move forward a really good football team. So I just think Sean needs to allow Jameis over these next 3 weeks to see what he is. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be in the thick of it. But, boy, if we don't get Drew Brees back, what are we going to do?
Now, it's funny that you said that because we talked about this before. I'm surprised, too, that Winston hasn't gotten a shot because you're right. He's the one. He'll push the ball downfield, right?
Mm-hmm.
For all the things Hill does well, throw it deep is not one of them. But New Orleans is in that, now that they only have the one bye, right? Are they in a position where do they risk putting Winston in to see what they got, or are they really just trying to win to get that bye because they're in that tough position now? When you had two, right, you're looking at teams like, they're 1 game ahead of the Rams and 4 games ahead of whoever's going to come out of the East. So there's maybe a little bit more flexibility, but now you're going probably until the final week. Do they risk that first week bye to see what they have in Winston?
No, I think what you're saying is right on.
Yeah.
I mean, you've nailed it because you need the bye. If you're a team that has a chance to not have to play the first week of the playoffs, you want that. You want a rested team, a hungry team, a team that is
a COVID-free team.
Absolutely,
right?
We can't forget that.
We can't forget that. It's been killing some teams.
And I think that's going to be true as we continue to talk about these divisions. I think that's where everybody's doing now. Normally you get to week, 10, 11, you start saying, okay, we kind of know where we're going to be seated, or we get a chance to rest our team. Right now, you're going to have to play the last stretch of the season to have a chance to rest your team.
Yeah, and for us who watch football, that's great, right?
Yes.
We want to see meaningful games in week 16, 17, for the teams and the players, right? Not as great, which, obviously makes sense. So with Winston, we're both surprised. Any idea, can you put your mind into Sean Payton's for a second, and why would he not at least, play the way that he put Brees and Hill in and out? Why not give, Winston a series here or there just to see what you got?
And that is concerning because that says to me that maybe he's seen some things in practice that he didn't feel good about. When it first started and he made the decision to start Tyson Hill, I was all for it because you paid him as a backup quarterback. You need to know what he is. Right. There's been a couple performances where, as you said, he doesn't throw the ball down the field. Obviously, his ability to run with the ball is good. But in order to win these big games in the National Football League, you're going to have to be able to throw it. And so he hasn't demonstrated that. Why don't you give this other young man a chance? So it could be several things that are going through Sean's mind. He has a locker room that he needs to be concerned about. Yeah. But that everybody in that locker room also wants to win too. So I just don't know where that happy medium is. And is there something that's above Sean as to why he can't play? You just never know. I mean, he has a general manager, he has an owner. Right. And as a head coach, you have to answer to those people too.
Because, I don't know it. The offensive side of the ball better than most. Could it be that just the terminology and the playbook that he ran with Bruce Arians in Tampa is that much different than Sean Payton's? Or by this point in the season, you should know, absolutely. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't think it's that. I think if not playing, there's something else that Sean is seeing, or there's somebody else that's involved in the decision.
Okay. Now the one that I don't think this caught anybody by surprise, the North, Green Bay. I think the Aaron Rodgers demise was greatly exaggerated when they made that draft pick, and he's showing everybody that he can still play a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So they're at 10-3. They're leading. I don't think they're in any. I think what do we got? The Bears and Minnesota, I think, are both at 6 wins. So they've got a nice, comfortable lead. They're taking that division. Super Bowl chance is the defense. Right? They got a running game. They got the quarterback. They got the wide receiver. At least the wide receiver one, right? Devontae Adams is, if not the best, one of the best wide receivers in the league. Is the defense good enough, or is that offense just that high potent that they can make a run?
Anthony, I think they're going to be in the discussion, but you said it. I think I can see it on your face. The defense is concerned.
It's always bothered me, right?
That's what's concerning. I mean, we have to be very honest about that. That's the million-dollar question for the Packers. It won't be their offenses if their defense will come and play as well as the offense plays to give them a chance to be a Super Bowl team. That's going to be yet to be seen, and they have not proved that yet. They have not proved that their defense is rock solid, one of the best defenses in the league that's going to be able to handle the pressure of playing 60, 70 snaps of high-level football in order to give their team a chance to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, because if it's a 35-32 game, I got the Packers. But if it's a 17-14, 2 feet of snow up in Lambeau,
yes,
that's what you got to worry about, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so the East. They've started to play better. I think the team coming out of the East might have a winning record. And I wasn't saying that 3 weeks ago. Right now it's Washington. It's 6-7. And they've played, right? We talked about them last week. Their defense is starting to play. Alex Smith is starting to look better. Do they have, are they just going to get into the playoffs and that's it? Or do you think they have a shot at making a run?
I think they do, and I'll tell you why. Because defensively, they could be as scary as anybody that a team plays in the playoffs. With Chase Young playing as well as he is, and that front that they have. I mean, they have a lot of big-time draft picks in that front seven. So they can make some noise if they continue to grow. I think the key will be keeping Alex Smith healthy.
Yeah.
He got hurt last week. Atkins had to come in and play. He helped win the game. But I think Alex Smith is going to be the guy that gives them the opportunity to make it into the playoffs and win because of his veteran presence. You're not going to fool him as a quarterback. He's seen it all. So I think that's going to be the key. And how injured he is, will he play this week? I think all that's going to, really tell about Washington.
I'm going to take a step away from this for a second because you mentioned Chase Young.
Mm-hmm.
And right or wrong, and I know if you can get a franchise quarterback, you draft a franchise quarterback. But I stole a line from draft day and I said, whoever picks first, and it ended up being the Bengals, who you know very well. I said, no matter what, take Chase Young, right? You got too many holes on that team. Mm-hmm. I know you need a quarterback.
Right.
But Chase Young is special. And I think a lot of people said, well, we weren't sure about him. But when you have Mike Tomlin pulling you aside and telling you, hey, I hope I never lose enough games to get a player like you, that's some big praise, right?
Well, I did it with Myles Garrett, so I understand.
Okay, yeah. No, right.
For quarterbacks, and I took a guy who I thought was going to be a transitional player for years to come. And that's what he is. And I think Cleveland's happy that Myles Garrett is there too.
For sure.
Those guys are just different. You have to, the generational guys, when you get a chance to put them on your team, you have to put them on your team.
Yeah, because when I looked at that draft, I saw a guy like Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, Myles Garrett, that they can change the entire game. And look, if you can get a franchise, I guess it's tough, right? If you can get a franchise quarterback, it's tough to pass that up. But again, I looked at the Bengals team and I said, look, they need an offensive line. They needed everything. Why
Yes.
not build up that defense? Let Dalton or whoever be that bridge person. Looks like there's another quarterback crop coming this year too. So you might have to wait a year, but maybe build that defense, build that O-line. So I just wanted to sidestep because,
you're right.
It just looks so great. So, okay. So we're going to move to the AFC. And we're going to start with the easy one in the West, the 12-1 Kansas City Chiefs. Hard to repeat though, right? Like even though they've looked, people have been hard on them a little bit. And I've said, hey, it's the regular season. When you've won a Super Bowl and you're that good, look, you rest a little bit, right? You have some down games. They're still 12-1, but they have, and I think they're better than they were last year when they're firing on all cylinders. Obviously, I'm not even going to let you answer because they obviously have a chance at the Super Bowl, but can they repeat? That's the bigger question.
Absolutely, they can. And they can because I think they have one of the best head coaches and one of the best quarterbacks in all of pro football. And he is different, and he's the reason why they're 12-1 along with their coaching staff. And he's not going to let them lose. That's just who he is. I mean, his mentality is, I'm here to win every game. And he plays that way. And there's games, like you said, where they hadn't looked as good. I mean, he started last week's game and had a couple interceptions, and they were down 10-0. And you look up and they're winning the game, And so that's just who they've been. And they're a resilient group. They're a gritty group. They've been through it. They know what it looks like. And this quarterback is special. So, yes, they can.
Is Mahomes Look, a lot of teams missed on Mahomes, and we
Mhm.
see that every year. But is Mahomes a player that it didn't matter where he went, he was going to be special, or is it he's just even better than he might have been because he's with Andy Reid?
No, I think one thing I will say about those quarterbacks, they have to be with the right person. There's a whole bunch of other quarterbacks that's been drafted to the National Football League that had talent, but boy, that coaching staff was never able to get it out. It just didn't fit. I mean, I've always said talent doesn't fit everywhere, and you have to be with the right coach, with the right system that that showcases your talent and ability, and that's what they're doing for him. So I think it's a happy marriage. I think Andy Reid has been who he's been outside of the box, doing all kind of things, and he has a quarterback that can handle.
Yeah, because it wasn't. Look at I talk about my Bears all the time, and when they drafted Trubisky, and everyone said, "Oh, they should have gone with Mahomes." And it's like, well, I don't know. Would he have developed the same? Because Mahomes, as great as he is, as talented as he is, how perfect was it to go with Andy Reid, kind of
Yes.
a great offensive coach, and to sit behind Alex Smith, who I still think is very underrated in terms of his talent at quarterback, and
Mm-hmm.
to sit under him and learn as well, right? Like it was almost a perfect storm. It was very much,
And that's why, I mean, it's worked.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
look at it, it's really worked because they did the right things with this young man.
yeah. So to the south now, Tennessee, same record as the Colts. Again, they own the tie break. Tennessee had a nice run last year in the playoffs.
Mhm.
I still think the Colts are gonna. I picked them preseason to win that division, so maybe that's why I'm sticking with it. I still think they're gonna come out, but we're sticking with the team that's leading. So Tennessee, nice run last year in the playoffs. Can they do it again? Can they give Derrick Henry the rest he needs? Because I don't want to say he looked tired in the championship game last year, but it wasn't the Derrick Henry we saw kind of the last 5-6 weeks there. Will he be rested? Can Tennessee make a run?
I think they can because they've done it before. And I think will they learn the lessons, as you're saying, from last year to put them in a better position this year? I think they're really good. I think there's some issues in their secondary that they have to address as they come down the stretch here. I think Derrick Henry will be ready and up to the challenge. It will be Tannehill playing as good as he can play. A.J. Brown staying healthy, Davis staying healthy, and their secondary improving. If they can do that, they'll be in the thick of
I'm going to skip the North. I'm going to save that to the end because you know them
it.
pretty well. I'm going to move. I'm going to go to the East first, and the Bills. I think when Brady left the Patriots, that it was the perfect timing for the Bills to step up, right? And they did. They had some high expectations, and Josh Allen has played well. That team has played really well. They're 10-3. I think that their kind of first real high expectation, high seed, I think it's going to be difficult for them in the playoffs. I don't think they can make the Super Bowl. What do you think?
I think they're going to be, they'll go as far as Josh Allen will take them. I remember a year ago watching him play in the playoffs, and he had that look in his eye that, boy, I'm not ready for this. He may have graduated and might be ready for this. Obviously, their defense is not the same defense as it was a year ago, but I watched them the other night play extremely well.
Yeah.
Can they gel and start back to being the defense that they were in 2019, which was in the top five? Who knows? But this quarterback is going to be the guy that leads them. And I think he's up to the challenge. And so they're going to be a hard out for some teams here in the AFC.
It's funny. I think they played so well the last game because I picked them to lose. And that's what the Bills have done to me since their 4 Super Bowl in a row run. Every time I pick them, they lose. Every time I pick against them, they win. So for Bills fans, send me your checks. I'll pick them to lose, and they're winning the Super Bowl. Just anthonyk at sportsfluent.com. All right, so the North. You know the North better than anybody. Pittsburgh looked – it's funny. Even as an undefeated Steeler team, they still, we talked about they're still, didn't look like they were clicking. And now 2 games in a row, right? They've lost, and look, they're still 11-2. But we're seeing some now injuries have started to hurt them a little bit. They lost a bit on that offensive line, so there's been that as well. If they get, I guess it's a big if, right? Can they stay healthy enough to make a run, or does someone else out of the North push through?
I think it's going to be interesting, and you said it, Anthony. Can they stay healthy enough? Because I think that's what their issue is. There's a lot of really good defensive players that are not playing for the Steelers, right? That didn't play the other night. Even Joe Hayden, who will be back, did not play. Spillane, the inside linebacker who replaced the young linebacker from Michigan, he didn't play. So you take Bud Dupree off, one of the best rushers in pro football, pass rushers. And so I think they're injured, but I think they have a really good coach. They have a quarterback who's battle tested. They're the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think we all are seeing that they're not running the ball as well as we're used to seeing Steeler teams run. I think they have to get back to the nuts and bolts of who they are to go win. This is going to be really interesting coming out of the North because, as you mentioned, they had another team that's chasing them. They're just waiting for them to slip up so they can try to catch them because they end the season playing in Cleveland.
Right.
So
and Cleveland missed a really good shot last night. Great game, tough loss for the Browns, but they played that's a game, right? Let's be honest. That's a game historically the Browns get blown out in, and we go, oh, same old Browns. And they didn't, right?
No,
Baker looked good. The team looked good. Lamar had his little break time. We all know what that was. I'm not even gonna ask you. We all know what that was. It happens. I get it. But they came back and won the game. But they missed a big chance there, right?
No, they did. And so I just think it's going to be tough. The one thing having coached in that division that we were always concerned about is towards the end of the year you finish with division teams, and those games are so physical because normally everybody's in the wild card race, division championship race. It's like, boy, those games are hard. So normally you can kind of calculate and say, I'm not going to play this particular game like that. That's not the case now.
Yeah.
You would have to play, and that's what's going to be different this season for those teams. You're going to have to bring it in order for Pittsburgh to win the division, for Cleveland to stay in the hunt, and for Baltimore to have a chance. Because if they win out, they may have a chance to get in too.
Yeah, you might have 3 teams coming out of the North, which that'd be fantastic because those are teams you'd like seeing in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
If you had to pick anyone but the Chiefs, and I put you on the spot, you had to pick anyone but the Chiefs. I'm not going to hold you to it because we're going to have another show next week and you can change your mind. So for this week, who would you? And that made it hard because it's easy to say the Chiefs. We're taking the Chiefs out.
Right. If it's not the Chiefs right today, I would say it's the Buffalo Bills. And I say that I watched a receiver and a quarterback take over a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers the other night that I hadn't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And watching Diggs and the young quarterback play where they played, that did it for me.
I got to tell you, this offseason, I went Diggs to Buffalo. I wonder how that's going to look. Wow, it looked good. This looks bad. Yeah. Let's do the same thing in the NFC. I'm going to take out the Packers. And I don't know if that would have been your pick. But if I take them out, who's your pick?
Oh, wow. I would say the Rams.
The Rams, yeah.
I think they're the most complete team today. If Drew Brees was there and playing, I would have picked the Saints, but he's not. And so you got to play with what you have. So today I would pick the Rams. Yeah,
well, I think if Drew Brees was in there and playing, I would have taken them out. But then you would have said the Packers. It would have made it easy.
Absolutely.
All right. So, am I fair in saying you're probably thinking Casey and the Packers right now, they probably look like the best 2 teams?
I can see that.
That'd be a fun Super Bowl to watch too.
It would be.
All right, so we're definitely going to talk more about this as the weeks go on. And before we jump into, I want to stick with football a little bit because there's been some rumors about some coaches, and obviously we know there's been some coaches that are now on interim basis. Every year, unfortunately, some guys lose their jobs. And there's one coach that I'm very near and dear to my heart, and another coach that I know you know very well, who have been rumored as being potential, get head coaching jobs. And it's Marvin Lewis, like I said, who you know. Lovey Smith, who I love, and I hated when 10-6 and the Bears let him go, which just blows my mind. Do you think these or others, if you have some other names, those coaches are going to more likely to be given another chance? Or is it this, looking for the next, Sean McVay or Matt Rule, these younger coaches, do you think are going to get more of the shots here?
I think it's going to be a combination of things. I think as far as the minority issue is concerned, it kind of got shut out last year. And I think it would be a huge outcry if that happens again. You got Eric Bieniemy, who's there. You just mentioned Marvin, Jim Caldwell, Lovey Smith, who's, I know he's out at Illinois, but he's one of the better coaches that coach in the National Football League. Vance Joseph. I mean, there's so many guys who are deserving. Now how is that going to unfold? We don't know. But I also think the league likes having the younger head coach in the National Football League, and so I get it. That's just going to be part of it. But for me, I'm kind of old school. I want a tried and true coach who's been through the wars a little bit and knows how to get it done. But I think for the league to do the right thing, in my opinion, they need to really push the diversity issue this year. They really.
So that wasn't something we were going to talk about, but let's talk about it, because I did. It was about a year ago, I think. I did a show with a psychiatrist, and she talked about this. She said ducks, flock with ducks, and she said the owners are older white men and they feel comfortable hiring other white men, and that was her psychological answer to my question, why? But obviously the Rooney Rule didn't work the way it was intended to work. They're making some change. Is it they need to blow it up and start over, right? Like, I know they've added some draft picks into it, and I don't think that works either, because it doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Is there?
And if it doesn't make sense to you, doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
And I think they do need to blow it up, and I think they're trying to. I think they're trying to approach it a different way. And I guess that's the problem. Why do we have to approach it a different way? Let's just approach it the right way. I mean, I've said before, there's 4 jobs, and 2 jobs went to minority coaches and 2 jobs went to Caucasian coaches. And then let's get the data and see what it says after 5 years of doing it that way. Just make it even, and let's see what happens. I mean, it'll tell you that there'll be some guys who are very good coaches. There'll be some guys who are not as good, but at least it'll be what? Fair. That's what everybody wants. It's just for it to be fair.
It's, this is what I'm going to tell you. I know that it sounds ridiculous, but it's almost at that point, because as I was having this conversation, we said, what's the craziest thing that we can do? And we said, listen, black, white, man, woman, not even, right? If you put the credentials of someone in front of an owner, now I get it. They want to get along with the person. They want to feel that they have the same philosophy. I understand that part, but I'm going to put that aside for a minute. If we said, look, here's the credentials, here's the background, here's kind of some choice questions. I'm almost at the point where I'm thinking you hire a third party to work with someone from the NFL and the team, and collectively the 3 have almost like a blind interview where it's, here's the credentials, here's the answer to these same 4, 5, 10, whatever it is, questions that they ask you. And then you go, wow, that's the best question. Because really what they look like doesn't matter, right? If you think they're the best person, and I say that, and I say that more for basketball, because I've been saying, Becky Hammon needs to be a head coach in the NBA for a long time. But the best person for the job, not the person, I hate to say it, not the person you feel most comfortable with.
Right.
Although I get that part of it, but then you would think, right, who do the players get more along with? I believe it's 70% of the NFL are minorities. It's 70%. And what, at 10, 12% of the coaches?
Absolutely.
The talent pool is so huge. There's got to be a way, and that's something I know that everyone's talking about change. But now's the time to do it. So again, we went off what we wanted to talk about, but I think important, right? So, so now we are going to switch complete gears, and we're going to jump into our financial part of this.
Okay.
So last week you talked to us about the 8 revenue streams. Would you mind telling us the 8 again? So
the 8 revenue streams of income that we talked about last week were earned income. We talked about profit income. We talked about interest income. We talked about royalty income, dividend income, rental income, capital gains income, and residual income.
Okay. Got the 8. This week, we're going to focus on profit income.
Yes.
So tell us, what is profit income? How can we get some?
Income from buying and selling. And I'm going to make a huge point here because people don't never think of this way. So Anthony, in your garage, do you have any old bikes or any old equipment or something that you just don't use anymore?
I could furnish a house. I've got 3 beds, 5 bikes.
Okay, so think about this. It's really interesting because I did this, and it's really so I get a lot of different gear, right? Coaching from different teams, and
Right.
well, you get all this Nike gear, Nike shoes from time to time, and normally you give it away. Normally you put it in bags and you give it away. Well, what if you take it to a co-sign place? Like there's a place called Plato's Closet in Ohio where you can sell that stuff back. And obviously you're going to not get what you paid for it or what it is, but that is another way of earning a profit. So it's buying and selling of things that have value. So you take something, and most people don't even think of that. You know, they have these things or they give them away, and which is fun too. I mean,
I think there's a part of that. Like I know that I try to do my kids' old toys.
Yes.
I'll donate them to
Absolutely.
whether it's preschool, some other things. I had
But if there was a chance to open an account for your kids with $100 to $75 every time you do that, you just made it better for them, and then for them to understand that those things have value. They have value if you take them in and you start learning how to create more profit in a different way. They go, wow. So now those things that they think are in their house that are worth nothing begin to be worth something.
That's a good point, because listen, it does take some effort into doing that.
Yes.
However, you just want, I know every spring, I don't know how it keeps getting filled, but every spring my garage is just somewhere that, hey, got to clean it out. Let's get rid of that stuff. Let's put some stuff out on the curb, and someone's coming to take it. Would they pay 10, 20, 30, 40, 100? Yeah, they probably would.
Yeah. And it's just amazing. I mean, I've done it like about 6 or 7 times. The most I've made doing that is about $624. But it's always been a profit, and I've been shocked because I've given away more than I can ever think of. But when you start learning different revenue streams and how you can create it, it is teaching you how to be a little bit more thoughtful when it comes to certain things, and really understanding that some things do have value. Do I want the kid to have the real nice Nike pair of tennis shoes? Absolutely. But there's a pair that I know are a little worn, but they're okay. You can sell them because the people that are buying them need them too.
Yeah, and just because it might not have any value for you,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
It might hold value to someone else, and I guess it doesn't hurt to find out.
Yes,
absolutely. That makes sense. No, okay. Yeah. And is there now that's on the now? Are you saying do it larger scale too, or just start with your things at home?
Just start with your things at home. I mean, because I've seen so many people get rid of them. They go, well, I didn't need that no more, and I don't know what those particular people are doing with it. Some people, have sentimental value to some things they have to get rid of.
Yeah.
If you're going to get something for it, it's a little bit easier to get rid of it.
Right. You're not suggesting, because I've seen, people kind of going from garage sale to garage sale, buying stuff. You're not suggesting that. You're just what you have.
They are your possessions that are in your house that you you're going to get rid of.
All right.
Profit income.
Profit. Well, listen, you probably have similar weather to me. Once it warms up a little bit, we'll start looking at that again.
Absolutely.
All right. So next week we're going to look at a different revenue stream. Revenue stream. Now we'll move into kind of our social part of this. And I obviously saw it, as many did. I Am Athlete with Omar Kelly, Brandon Marshall, Fred Taylor, Chef Nancy, and yourself. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I think I have everybody. You guys looked like the food was delicious, by the way. You had some Grand Leyenda tequila, organic. It was beautiful. And what struck me the most, right, was you guys talking about, supporting Black businesses. It's really important. And so I wanted to, get your take on, obviously that was a great piece. If you haven't seen it from I Am Athlete, please go check it out. Why is it so important?
Because how else do we, as a group of people, become better at what we're doing as far as the product, as far as communicating, if we don't support each other? And I thought Omar made a great point, because there are so many people who, in their opinion, supporting you is asking you to give me something free. And that's not supporting me. That's really taking from me. I think when you support each other, everybody has a chance to grow. And I think that's truly where I think we all are coming from. It is time to stop just going and buying name brand things, that if you have another brother who has put something together, go try to invest in it and see if you can help make a difference in what they're doing. And let's grow each other, which grows everybody, which helps the world even be a better place.
Yeah, because there are some groups where you can see that they really support each other's businesses,
Yeah.
right? Different from country to country, culture to culture, but you can see where it's happening.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you a hard question, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously there's some instances where, and this is every community. I'm not just talking about the Black community, where
Right.
we see someone else succeed and we're not happy that they succeed, right? We're like, why them, not me? Which is not the right attitude. But why hasn't it happened, do you think, to this point?
Because what you just said, I just think people get jealous. I'm being very honest when I say that. I think people become jealous. I think people become envious. And I think, that's what it's been. That's kind of what the culture has been in certain situations. And until we change that and understand there's enough for everybody, if we are willing to help each other get there. And to me, that's part of leading, and all that is serving. So if I help serve, it's probably going to come back to me twofold. I've always said, if you open your hand, a lot can come in and a lot can go out. But if you close it, nothing can come in and nothing can go out. So
That's a good point.
So have an open hand and an open heart, and great things happen.
Is there, if there's people watching, listening into the show, where are some places they can find some Black businesses, or some that you know of that you would recommend? Hey, if you want to help, this is how you can help.
I think any Black-owned business, whether it's a supermarket, whether it's a diner or soul food, or whatever that is, go there and support. Supporting is just going and buying what they have. You don't have to do anything special. Just do what is right, which is go buy what they have and support it, and help them market what they're doing. And the only way you can do that is by telling the next person. Now, I think the people who have those particular entities that I'm talking about, they have to have the right product too.
Sure.
When I say
Hey, you talked about it, right? I think I quoted Brandon Marshall, where he said, if you're going to do it right. And that's the key thing, right? You can't say, hey, come, this is a terrible product, but come buy it, because you can't do that. It's still got to be quality.
Yeah, and pretty soon your friend will be telling you don't want to buy that. Right. So it's got to be the right thing, the right, and the people who are, like we just said, putting it together, they got to make sure that the product is right. And then great things happen. I see more of that happening today because of COVID, that more people are starting to support each other that way, going online to order things that normally they wouldn't. They would just went to the store, because I think they've been forced to, but it's opened a lot of people's eyes about how you can help and be a little bit more intentional in helping another minority in this situation. And I think that's good for all.
Yeah, and I saw, it was funny because I'm glad that you guys did that episode, that show, because again, when we had those issues earlier in the summer, I saw a lot of support Black businesses and buy Black art, and it was great to see. But then just like it started to dive down again, and it's something that we talked about this last week. It has to be constant. It has to be all the time, and then it'll change, right? Then the high tides will raise all ships.
Yeah, it goes back to a point I keep making, and I'm not going to stop making this point. People do what is normal. That don't mean it's right. A lot of people do what is normal because that's what normal has been. Normal has been, we talk about it, and then it goes away. That's what normal has been.
Because it's always, because everyone always goes back to
Right.
I ask this question a lot. I say, why are you doing this way? And the answer I get 9 times out of 10 is that, well, that's because that's the way it's always been done. And I just shake my head and I give them, everyone's sick. Everyone who knows me is sick of this story. So I'm going to make you sick of it too. I'm going to tell you the story. Because it's a story that I heard that was told to me, and it was told to that person. It's gone through these generations. And I always say it in the first person, even though it's not my story. But it was, you're going to laugh when I hope you laugh when I love pot roast. And my favorite part is the end, because the end of it is kind of crispy on the outside and then it's got the tender meat in the inside. It's my favorite part. And so my mom always cuts the ends off the roast. And I said, why do you do that? And she says, well, that's because that's the way your grandmother always used to do it. So I called up my grandma. I said, hey, why do you cut the ends off the roast? And she said, because that's the way my mom always used to do it. Called my great grandmother. Said, why do you cut the ends off the roast? This is driving me crazy. And she laughed and said, well, when, growing up in this little village in Greece, the pots were really small. We had to cut them off so it would fit in the pot. And I just went, see, you're doing it for no reason. They had a reason then. You don't have a reason to do it that way now.
Right.
And, all my staff, they laugh at me. They're like, that story, they've heard it a million times, but don't ever give me that answer that it's just the way it's always been done.
And that's just another way of saying they seen that as normal.
Right.
They saw that as that is the normal thing to do. And then you have to understand that there's more than that way of doing things. And that's exactly what it is.
All right. So that's how we're going to end the show, is change.
Absolutely. Be changers. Instead of strangers, be changers. And I think people are afraid sometimes to step out and change because it means you have to put yourself out there. You really do.
Look, and listen, that's hard. I know that's hard for a lot of people, is that no one likes change.
Yeah.
But when it's the right thing to do, right? I think the right thing to do should always trump what's comfortable.
You talking about a great place to end? It's there, because there's no question in my mind that's what has gone on for so long in so many areas of sport. And that's what we're talking about, this minority issue. We got to quit doing what is not right. If it's right, let's do the right thing. Let's not worry about what anybody's going to say or anything. And you have to be intentional when you're talking about doing the right thing.
Right. I love it. That's a perfect way to end. That's episode 2 of the Coach and AK Experience. I hope you enjoyed it. Coach, thank you so much. Talk to you next week.
You got it.
This has been the Coach and AK Experience, part of the Sports Fluent Network.